Introduction to my K-series Pokémon adventure game. www.zhaozuiyuan.com Old Things is a large-scale soul-based open survival game that has sparked a global craze. Adventurers can harbor various powerful creatures as companions to explore this mysterious continent and embark on a fantastic adventure journey. But with the addition of Rodrian, who had a natural talent for pollution, things became a bit scary. All https://www.zhaozuiyan.com. Chapter 1. Harmless Goats for Human and Animal Life. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Welcome to the Dark Star Hill. This region is constantly in darkness, with only dim light reflecting on the earth. The lack of light environment causes the vision of the organisms here to deteriorate, becoming sluggish, and the difficulty of containment is relatively low. As an evil adventurer, the true blood flowing on your body can contaminate any creature, reshaping them into eerie races. Please use your unique talent to embark on your journey in this cold and dark land. The night breeze blows, and the dim stars face this verdant hill in the distance. In a dense thicket of grass, something is burying its head in the grass, happily sharing a wild wolf. From the hooves exposed in the grass, it seems to be a goat. But if one's gaze moves upwards, one will discover the extremely terrifying true face of this creature. Its upper body is like a decaying tree, irregularly arranged with deformed huge mouths. Thick saliva continuously drips from its yellowed teeth into the grass beside it, emitting a grave-like stench. Rodrian looked at the ugly creature he had just transformed with a complex expression. He found it difficult to associate this with the cute one-eyed lamb that was still eating grass and furry just now. Just a minute ago, this detestable creature was just a harmless little lamb captured by itself. Pollution successful, consumption. True blood *1, one-eyed sheep cub black goat cub, you sacrificed the one-eyed sheep cubs and obtained the ancient legacy of the black goat cubs on this continent. Millions of years have passed, causing the abandoned ones to lose their old strength and reproductive desire. However, they are still terrifying beings. Now, you have called out to them again. Rodrian looked at the blood-red note that appeared before him, clicked on the team list, and looked at the creature he had just transformed. Name: Black Goat Cubs, Level 1, HP 100, Attack Power 3, Defense 50, Stage 1/2, Race Shunnier Tribe, Entry Thick Barriers, Swollen Body, Partner Skill Evil Colony, Skill Effect. Black goat cubs undergo a fission and split into several black goat cubs for combat. This skill will consume a certain level of experience points, and the amount of fission is related to the level of containment. The minimum level required for this skill to be used is LV5. My talent can turn biological pollution into a strange-looking Cthulhu creature, which is quite in line with my aesthetic. Besides, my attributes and skills have become much stronger. Luoduan looked at the powerful skills of the transformed black goat cub, and the little guilt of contaminating the delicate and pitiful lamb disappeared instantly. Pollution is a unique talent of his game character. As the latest generation of virtual reality games, Old Things has become popular worldwide not only because of its soul-based game difficulty and exquisite monster design, but also because the game incorporates AI systems to design unique talents for each player in different categories. This unique and personalized experience is truly what players love. At least Rodrian likes his evil talent. Compared to those cute-looking elf pets, he still prefers such a strange and mysterious powerful companion. With the dim moonlight, you arrived at this place again with new shelter, attempting to wash away your former shame here. A group of ancient fungal guards inhabit the ancient terrace, their remains attached to the corpses of various animals. The despised dead become their feast, and the dull cold provides a place for them to rest. This group of ghostly creatures lingers here, attacking all creatures that step into this place. No one knows why they carry the name of guardians and what old secrets they guard. Rodrian hid at the edge of the stone, throwing the containment ball, while he temporarily stayed on the back of the stone to watch, ensuring that hatred was drawn to the black goat cubs. After all, Old Things is a relatively hardcore soul game. Although the fungal guards are only some level 1.3 creatures, their attack power is very high. Previously, he had been trapped in the hands of these social creatures many times with his one-eyed sheep cubs. Now, after being contaminated by themselves, the combat effectiveness of the black goat cubs seems to have improved quite well, which happens to be verified through practical combat with these guys. You summon the black goat cub. Your black goat cub may not have eyes, but it is very sensitive to odors, sniffing the smell of decay. It has locked in the fungal guard. The fungal guards also sensed its presence, controlling the decaying corpses of wolves and wild boars, tearing towards the invaders. These parasitic creatures were the first to launch an attack on the black goat cubs. Rodrian watched as the group of creatures that had already exposed their bones and were parasitized by fungi pounced on the black goat cubs. But the group of fungi guarding and parasitizing organisms couldn't even bite open the hard bark-like skin of the black goat. Several black tentacles extended from the body of the black goat cub, hugging all the rushing fungal guards in their arms. Then, accompanied by the sound of flesh and bone squeezing, the decaying creatures all lay soft and fell off their organs on the ground. Do you want to kill your sister while holding her in your arms? This attack method has become somewhat underworld, isn't it? Just as he was looking at the ground covered in flesh and blood, feeling that the attack style of the black goat cubs was somewhat underworld, he suddenly heard a sound of breaking through the air. Whoosh! A wild boar that had fallen to the ground and had already decayed suddenly had its head cracked open with a ferocious opening, and yellow spores shot out like cold arrows, heading straight towards him. However, just as he was about to shoot himself on the head, a black tentacle suddenly patted him and brought the decaying spores to the ground. The black goat cubs were also as if provoked, stepping on their thick hooves and crushing the broken head of the wild boar parasitized by fungi on the ground. So smart, surprisingly able to protect the Lord. It seems that even the mechanism of searching for enemies has changed. He immediately withdrew his head and leaned against the stone back to breathe a sigh of relief, feeling extremely surprised in his heart. Zhaozhuiyuan.com When I attempted to kill the fungal guard with my captive one-eyed sheep cub, I was killed many times due to its weak hunting mechanism. One-eyed sheep cubs do not attack enemies that pose a threat to their owners, but instead keep pulling up the nearest fungus to guard them. This mechanism of searching for enemies can be described as intellectual disability. Now it seems that the black goat cub has perfectly corrected this weakness and protected itself. If he had just hit that skill, he would have definitely fallen down. After waiting for a long time, Roduin didn't hear anything before lifting his body. Black goat cub level, the platform under the night sky had just undergone a fierce battle, surrounded by a smell of blood. You didn't even have time to throw the containment ball, and the fungal guards were all killed by the bloodthirsty black goat cubs. Fungal spores float in the air, and devout fungal guards lose their shells. They will not resurrect until there is death in this plateau. You are searching for loot on the corpse of the fungal guard. Discovery. Fungal spores *8, discovery. Colorless crystals *2, discovery. 5 pieces of rotten meat, discovery. Kingdom key *1, in Old Things, the rarity levels of items are divided into white, green, blue, purple, yellow, and orange. The higher the value, the higher the value. The kingdom key is a blue item, and Rodrian immediately inspected it. Item. Kingdom key, type. Consumables. A description. A decaying door used to open the entrance of the Duosan ruins in the crevice of the waterfall below the platform, which may contain mysterious treasures and extinct creatures in the world. Chapter 2. Broken Campsite. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Forest Kingdom, what a nostalgic ancient name. As early as ancient times, a black mushroom called the Eternal, almost the size of a mountain range, created the Forest Kingdom, a kingdom composed of fungal organisms. They are hidden in darkness, and every devout believer of the eternal believes that as long as darkness persists, the kingdom will always exist. But in the unknown history, the country that should have existed forever perished in a disaster. Now, the lost kingdom ruins are right under your feet, waiting for you to unlock the dusty secrets. After inspecting the kingdom keys, Roduan saw the blood-red text slowly emerging like ink, as if luring him to the waterfall below the platform. But now I don't even have weapons, and if I break in rashly, I will only give a key for free. Undoubtedly, ruins may contain mysterious treasures, but they may also contain powerful bosses. Before entering the ruins, they must return to the camp to prepare something. Roduan pressed the button to hold the ball and set off towards the camp he had built. You retrieved the black goat cub. Calm down, you have decided to explore this place again next time. Under the gaze of the vast stars, you quickly left this soil scattered with black blood on the cold and pitch-black hill. You vaguely saw the dim mist flickering not far ahead. This tattered tent built with broken firewood and withered tree leaves. I don't know which genius built the campsite. Child, your aesthetic seems to be extremely poor. Seeing the emerging blood-colored text, the corners of his eyes twitched slightly. The narration of this game is quite unique. But he did only focus on the practicality of the campsite, having a campfire that could cook food to fill his hunger, and having a tent to place a bed for sleeping and restoring his energy was enough. He sat down and baked by the campfire, dispelling the cold from his body. It has to be said that the tactile interaction in Old Things is quite good, and the cold like a knife cut is something many games cannot and dare not do. Rodrian placed the rotten meat pieces he obtained on the campfire for smoking and grilling. You placed the rotten meat chunks on the campfire for smoking and grilling, obtained 5 inferior grilled meats. You have a full stomach, but you are at risk of eating bad belly. Eating bad belly will lower the upper limit of physical strength. Please pay attention to a healthy diet. After filling his stomach, Rodrian began counting the materials collected in his rudimentary shoulder bag. In order to explore the ruins, he needs to make a weapon. In Old Things, although the human body is incomparable to those creatures, the attack power of holding a weapon is still impressive. He must craft a bow and arrow to prepare for possible battles in the future. Consumption. Wood *10, you are building a manual workbench. Built successfully. Roduan placed the handmade workbench next to the tent. You place the handmade homework table next to the tent, and this home looks even more messy. You start making bows and arrows without any worries. He looked at the slowly advancing progress bar on the desktop and suddenly remembered something. He placed the black goat cub in front of the handicraft workbench, attempting to ask it to assist him in completing the handicraft work. This organism does not have the ability to perform manual tasks. Looking at the text that appeared in front of him, Rodrian was slightly taken aback, but quickly realized it. He clicked on the bio book and indeed found that the black goat cubs did not possess manual skills. Pollution also alters the working adaptability of organisms. The one-eyed sheep cub was originally suitable for manual work, but the black goat cub clearly did not have this ability. Instead, it had logging LV1, so he had to let it go logging. You have assigned the black goat cubs to logging work. It walked with 4 sturdy sheep hooves and approached the towering ancient wood, using its black tentacles with thorns to continuously saw the trees. It seems that we still need to catch a few more one-eyed sheep again, not only to speed up work efficiency, but also to better build the campsite. The subsequent NPC occupancy requires a certain scale of houses, and it is estimated that it will be slow to build houses alone. Luodwan was making bows and arrows while silently contemplating the strategies he had seen on the forum. Handmade work is a very important work ability for accommodations, and the planting, construction, and various advanced work in campsites cannot be separated from the help of accommodations with adaptability to manual work. In large-scale survival adventure games, relying solely on powerful containment items is not enough. Production successful. Name. Wooden bow, type. Conventional remote weapon, attack power. 8. Description. A rough and lightweight bow and arrow. When shooting with it, it is necessary to consider ballistic descent. You have created the first weapon, showcasing human wisdom, character level. You have upgraded to level 5, it's time to make a decision. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, please choose one of your directions. In thought, Rodrian realized that the bow and arrow were already done, and at the same time, his character level had also been raised to level 5, which means he could choose to add points. The character bonus attribute system in Bold Things is designed creatively and does not have as many visual attributes as creatures. Every 5 levels, players will receive any 3 growth paths, and can choose a growth path for their character. In the next 5 upgrades, the character will grow in this direction, avoiding frequent bonus operations. Warrior's Balance Path. The closer you are to the monster, the more your attack power will increase, up to 20%. You can play steadily, resulting in a significant increase in HP and defense as you level up. The Pathway of the Spectator. You will gain a sense of danger and have a chance to dodge when you are about to receive an extremely dangerous attack. In addition, the last 5 upgrades will increase the dodge rate by 0.5% for each level, and your HP will grow less. Gambler's Abyss Journey. Your upgrade will only increase the base value. In return, you can obtain an Abyss treasure chest at level 10, which will unlock random permanent gain items. Raduan initially hesitated when he saw the first 2, but when the third path appeared before him, he chose the third path without any hesitation. Playing games, the most important thing is to enjoy the game. He is not considered a frugal person in reality, let alone in games. In this world, the most abundant are crazy gamblers. As a newcomer, you have chosen this path, and I hope your courage will bring you matching luck. The blood-red text dissipated before my eyes once again. Chapter 3. Boss Transformation Plan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After sleeping for a while to recover his strength, Luo Duan looked at his personal panel and found that his contaminated true blood had not yet recovered. He frowned slightly. According to the game schedule, I have been resting for 10 hours, so it seems that the recovery time for true health is still quite long. Player. Luo Duan, level 5, armor. None, equipment. Wooden bow, HP. 100, physical strength. 100 hunger value. 100, talent. Pollution, talent effect. Your true health can contaminate any living creature, provided that the creature has been taken in by you and currently has 2/3 of your true health, slowly recovering, skill. None confirming that his other states had returned to full. Luo Duan put on his wooden bow, grabbed 30 arrows, and prepared to set off to witness the so-called ruins and mysterious treasures. If he was lucky enough, he might encounter the so-called boss. In Bold Things, ruins can be said to be similar to the existence of dungeons, but different from them. Ruins of civilization. In each ruins, there are hidden treasures of different ancient and mysterious civilizations, as well as the imprints of their past existence. It can be said that there will inevitably be relics of civilization in the ruins, and as an adventurer, he is precisely exploring the treasures of these civilizations. But there are also various dangers in the ruins, and a powerful boss is just one of them. Risks such as eerie secret mechanisms, exquisite mazes, and mysteries that lead to the downfall of civilization are all possible risks that the ruins may face. You put on a wooden bow, ready to go, and under the guidance of the moonlight, you headed back to the fungal terrace. Darkness has always been the main color tone in this area, and you noticed that since defeating the fungal guards, the surrounding grasslands seem to have gradually withered. When Roduan arrived at the previous terrace, he found that the night here had become somewhat different. The dense grass became as withered and stiff as autumn, swaying like weak grass. The boundless grass was blown low by the night wind, revealing the river that had been spreading downstream. The river that had spread to the end of the line of sight shone brightly like a silver chain under the dim stars. He stopped to gaze at the sparkling and winding river below, sighing that such a scene could only be seen in the game. You have arrived at the front end of the waterfall, and now as you pass through the waterfall, you will see the dusty gate. After descending to the plain, he struggled to walk in the river water, slowly passing through the silver waterfall curtain, and soon discovered a unique cave here. In the narrow crack that can only pass through one person, there is actually a stone slab embedded, and there is a keyhole on the stone slab. To open this dusty stone door, you need a kingdom key, consumption. Kingdom key *1, accompanied by the rustling sound of dust shaking off, the subtle sound of gears is also constantly ringing. The stone door trembled as it opened. The pitch-black narrow cave wall was slippery and greasy, with a group of yellow mushrooms growing on it that you had never seen before. You quietly pressed against the stone wall and gradually became dark, as if you had entered a dark forest. Your torch provides very limited light source in the damp cave wall. Rodrian looked around at the gradually darkening environment and slowly pushed forward with a torch. The visibility here is comparable to some horror games, but since you have entered, you can only grit your teeth and walk forward. In the darkness, he vaguely heard a crisp sound coming from under his feet, as if stepping on some crunchy leaf, but under the glow of the fire, he could see that it was the skull of some animal. There is a smell of decay emanating from the darkness. You sniffed the stench under your feet and explored for a long time in the darkness. After a long time, a little light appeared ahead. A relatively open void appeared before my eyes in the center of the cavity. You discovered that the light source was actually a huge fluorescent mushroom, whose light illuminated this cave like a cold ghost fire at the same time. You also noticed that peculiar creature. He slowly walked out of the cave, adjusting his eyes to the hazy light. He quickly saw that there was a glowing mushroom the size of a banyan tree inside the cave. Under the umbrella cap of the fluorescent mushroom, a strange creature resembling a horse was bathing in the holy light like fluorescence. From a distance, it seems that a knight wearing armor is sitting on the back of a horse, and the outline of the armor is reflecting a dim fluorescence. But as he gradually approached, he realized that the horse, which had already decayed, was not sitting on a living person, but rather a set of rusty silver-white armor. The part of the breastplate of the armor had already been sunken, and only something resembling a human spine could be vaguely seen inside. The yellowed withered vine crawled over the entire armor from the damaged chest, and the arm part of the armor was actually a strange bone spear with decaying flesh. When he noticed that creature also noticed him. Fungal Knight, level 5, HP 1000. Fungal Knight, devout guardian. Even though the ancient vines have covered his decaying body, the knight's remaining soul remains loyal. It uses spores to splice countless corpses into a body and hides in a hidden underground cave, attempting to hibernate and seek revenge against the murderer who destroyed his home. But it cannot leave this place where fungi thrive, and ultimately wears away its rationality in time, becoming a ferocious evil spirit that relies solely on its nature to attack and invade this mysterious relic. Now, it's time for you to face this guy. When Raduan stood up as the fungal knight, he immediately threw the containment ball. You summoned the black goat cub. The black goat cub roared with its bloodthirsty jaws, driving its wriggling deformed body towards the fungal knight. Several tentacles continued to spread out from its irregular body, colliding with sharp bone spears, and the sound of collisions between gold and stone echoed one after another. He pulled out a bow and arrow from behind and carefully swam around the outer circle to observe the situation. Now the black tentacles are tightly entangled on the giant spear of the fungal knight, and for a moment it seems that the two sides are entangled inexplicably. However, just as he was about to seize the opportunity to take action, he suddenly noticed that the HP of the black goat cubs was somewhat strange. Why is HP constantly falling down? The blood bars of the black goat cubs are constantly 0.1, and their movements are also slow, but the bone spear of the fungal knight is still tightly entangled by the tentacles. This situation should be due to some kind of debuff reduction in benefits. After observing for a while, he finally caught a glimpse. In the air around the fungal knight, there were strange particles floating, resembling spore clusters, constantly emitting a grayish-yellow mist. Just now, due to lighting issues, he didn't notice them, it's obvious that these things are releasing mist. Gently placing the arrow on the bowstring, Rodrian aimed at a spore ball suspended in mid-air. A powerful arrow burst out in an instant, effortlessly piercing through a spore ball. The diffuse gray-yellow mist in the air seems to have dissipated a bit, and your attack has had an effect, but please be careful of its retaliation. Rodrian suddenly saw the fungal knight, who was deadlocked with the black goat cub, trembling eerily. The armor mask sitting on the saddle suddenly opened, revealing a strange skull with a dislocated mouth. His pupils contracted slightly, almost in an instant, he immediately rolled and dodged. When the smoke and dust fell, he searched for the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com and found a head-sized hole less than 1 meter away from him. Well done, you successfully dodged a fatal injury. It can be said that if you took the blow just now, you still owe 2 lives. It's really risky. Fortunately, I've seen the attack methods of those fungal creatures. He felt his heart rate slightly increase. Fortunately, after he repeatedly destroyed the spore clusters, the black goat cubs gained the upper hand, and their black tentacles pierced several holes in the armor of the fungal knight, causing black blood to continuously flow out. After narrowly avoiding several attacks again, the fungal knight's health line was finally worn to a silky state. Possibility of containment. 22%. Rodrian immediately threw the containment ball. You threw a containment ball. The dying fungal knight turned into a yellow light and was sucked into the ball. The low-level containment ball shook violently. You nervously stare at the containment ball, with a probability fluctuating around 40%. After continuing to shake it twice, the containment probability rapidly increases. Successfully sheltered. Character level, obtained. Fungal Knight, with the sound of armor shattering, the last remaining soul of the former Kingdom Knight also flew and disappeared, and the fluorescent mushroom that relied on its power to survive was about to crumble. Rodrian silently watched as the blood-red text dissipated, looking at the containment ball that fell into his own hands, somewhat surprised. I have taken the relic boss into my pocket in one go. It seems like I have some good food on the road. Is real blood used for contamination? At this moment, a faint line of blood-colored text also appeared. Chapter 4. Nights of Pain. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Rodrian is not in a hurry to renovate. Click on the Team Shelter to check. Name. Fungal Knight, level 5, HP. 1000, attack power. 90 defense. 10, stage. 1-to-1, race. Spore race, entry. Strong body, partner skill. Mitosis skill effect. Summon 4 spore clusters that can split around the body, and they will continuously release mist that causes bleeding and delay to the enemy. Every 2 minutes, the spore clusters can split to expand the range and effect of the mist, and there can be up to 10 spore clusters at the same time. Isn't this a pile of dog poop? After reading the introduction of the Fungal Knight, Rodrian objectively commented. Although it may seem like a high upper limit combat skill at first glance, in actual combat, it takes 12 minutes to reach the maximum limit of 10 spore clusters, and even spore clusters are very fragile and can easily shatter with just a touch. It is almost impossible to release the maximum number of spore clusters for the skill in actual combat. As a boss, the skill of this companion is still too cheap. He decided to send this guy he just met to renovate it well. Is real blood used for contamination, consumption? True blood *1, pollution successful of Fungal Knight. Painful Knight. In that little known history, another Kingdom Knight betrayed the Eternal and survived, but his inner judgment and the destruction of his homeland always tormented him. The double pain twisted his form and will, and his tormented body had already lost its former pride, but now he has been summoned back by you. A black light flashed past, and the painful knight was summoned from the receiving ball, causing a significant change in its appearance. The main form of this creature is still a decaying skeletal horse. However, the knight's armor, which was originally sitting on the saddle, was actually moved to the position of the horse's head, making it a strange combination of the knight's head and beast's body. The fungi exposed from the decaying parts have also disappeared without a trace, replaced by a constantly burning black flame. At the junction of the decaying human and horse, a blood-stained iron chain stretched out from the stitched flesh. The intertwined iron chain was like an iron rains, like thorns growing from the black flames, flowing with melted molten iron. Name: Night of Pain, Level 1, HP 80, Stage 1/1, Population. Spore Race, Entry. Speed of the Wind, Agile Posture, Weak Body, Partner Skill. Slave of Pain, Skill Effect. You can ride this already tamed servant to anywhere, but pay attention to the marks it leaves when galloping, which will spread the black inflammation that withers everything. In addition, riding it will not consume stamina, but it will exacerbate its pain, and the consumption of HP will replace the consumption of stamina. He looked at the effectiveness of his skills and felt a boost in his heart. It's crooked, but not entirely crooked. I originally wanted to pollute a boss with stronger combat power, but by chance, I received a mount, which was an unexpected gain. The map of Old Things is incredibly large, and even after exploring the so-called beginner area of the Dark Star Hill for a few days, he would still get lost. Having a mount makes a dull and boring running routine naturally easier and more enjoyable. Will riding make the painful night feel even more painful? But players are happy. It's a very fun design, I like it. With a smile on his face, Rodwin withdrew the painful night from the containment ball, feeling the consistency between himself and the game planner's obsession. At the same time, he also began to count the spoils in the ruins. He first arrived at the place where the fungal knight was being sheltered, and something seemed to be scattered on the damp ground. What are you searching for on the messy ground? Discovery. Colorless crystal *10, discovery. Bone *10, discovery. Armor fragments *5, these were all low-value items in white and blue, and his attention quickly shifted from them to the fluorescent mushroom ahead. The giant mushroom in front, emitting a dim halo, was shining brightly in the center of the halo on the ground. The lock on the damp wooden treasure box reflects an enticing glow under the fluorescence of the cave due to years of corrosion. The lock of this treasure chest has been completely corroded and can be opened without the need for a key. He lightly rested his fingers on the lock buckle, and with a slight force, the rusty lock fell to the ground, clanking. Just as he eagerly opened the treasure chest, the scene slowly unfolding before his eyes left him slightly stunned. A pale and slender arm caught the eye. The slender arms seemed to have been soaked in water for a long time, with wrinkled and white skin and yellow spots. Under his arm, he vaguely saw a skull and a withered eyeball. Inside this wooden box, there is actually a partially ossified corpse that has been folded up for storage. Congratulations, you have found the treasure. It seems that before you, there were lucky people who broke into this secret place, but unfortunately, they seem to never be able to leave this place in the end. Fungal knights use fungi to store the bodies of invaders. When the old body parts rot, the bodies stored in the boxes become their new bodies. He looked at the blood-colored text that appeared in front of him, then lowered his head to look at the corpses in the box, and found the Shuyuan website www.zhaoshuyuan.com to understand why some people on the forum dared not play this game in the middle of the night. After defeating the boss, opening the treasure chest is the most relaxing and anticipated time for players. At this time, there are always thrilling moments, which can indeed scare many unprepared people. The treasure chest in this game is not like other games, with only precious items. Could there be anything else hidden inside? It's reasonable, but unexpected. Luodwan thought to himself. In the cave where the parasitic creature serves as the boss, a treasure chest containing a corpse appears, which is quite logical in the plot. This also implies to the player that the treasure chest not only contains precious items, but may also contain other things. After this experience, the player is probably feeling up and down when opening the treasure chest again. This time it's a corpse, the next time it might be something else. You start searching for the dead body. Is it literally searching for the heart? He looked at the blood-red text appearing on the screen and silently roast. Discovery. Old vest *1, discovery. Too low. Level containment balls, discovery. Treasure map stained with blood *1. When he saw that the treasure map stained with blood was a purple valuable item, he examined it. Item. A treasure map stained with blood, type. Consumable and practical items, occupation. 2 compartments, foldable, description. A living treasure map, holding it in hand feels like fresh sheepskin. Smear blood onto this treasure map, it can show you the nearest possible location and intelligence of the treasure, but complete display of the information takes 5 hours. After covering the blood multiple times, the treasure map will gradually lose its spirituality. Chapter 5. First Resident. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. After counting the items, Luo Duan threw out the white valuable bones, put the valuable treasure map into a simple shoulder bag, and left the cave. My simple shoulder bag can only hold a limited amount of space, with only 6 compartments. He also wants to be a garbage man, but not everyone can be a garbage man. As you leave, the door to the ruins of the kingdom of Dorian slowly closes with a trembling sound. You have a packed backpack on your back, grab the iron shackle on the horse's head, and turn over to get on the horse. The knight, covered in pain and suffering from black fever, let out a hellish gasp and numbly accepted orders like a puppet, rushing towards the direction of your camp. As long as you slightly adjust the direction and grip strength of this shackle, you can control the direction and speed of the mount's movement, which feels even simpler than driving an electric bike. Finally, he turned his head and glanced at the stone gate vaguely closed in the waterfall. He held on to the shackles in his hand and did not rush to drive the painful knight straight towards home. Instead, he familiarized himself with how to control the mount on the grassland for a while. Under him, the knight, braving the pain of black fever, galloped and left behind a series of black flames on the flat grass. The emerald green grass withers and dries up at the moment it comes into contact with black flames, eventually falling into pieces like paper dust, floating in the pitch-black sky. A few one-eyed sheep eating grass, like frightened birds, immediately fled the scene as the black flames gradually spread. It seems we can't ride this guy near the campsite yet. He turned around and saw the charred roads left behind the painful knight, feeling somewhat helpless. I just rode the painful knight around a few laps, but the nearby grass was almost ruined. This guy has a significant negative impact. It seems that you can't ride near the campsite. If this guy burns all the nearby flora and fauna, it would be more than worth the loss. Fortunately, this guy's movement speed did not disappoint him. The speed of the Pain Knight is indeed very fast, and the entries for the Pain Knight are Speed of the Wind and Flexible Stance. Literally, both should be entries that increase movement speed. He sat on the horse and, after familiarizing himself with how to control direction and speed, rode it, galloping towards the vast and empty pitch-black grassland towards the direction of the campsite. In the midst of the turbulence, Rodrian silently felt the cold air in the night sky brushing across his cheeks, and the swaying shadows of the fields around him kept receding from his view. The feeling of driving alone on the plain is really wonderful and rare. The last time I had this feeling was when I worked overtime until late at night and was driving on an empty neon road. Rodrian sat on the painful night, reminiscing about something. Riding on my beloved electric bike, I elevate my speed to the level of a ghostly fireboy, and enjoy the quiet scenery of the city alone while speeding. That's probably the feeling. When he returned to the vicinity of the campsite, he dismounted, withdrew his mount, and slowly walked home. However, as he gradually approached the familiar campfire, he quickly noticed a slight abnormality. Under the flickering flames of the campfire, there was a strange figure hovering near his camp, pulling a donkey. He was a bit strange, but out of caution, he took off the bow and arrow behind him and slowly approached the black goat cub after summoning it. As they approached, the strange appearance of the figure gradually became clear under the reflection of the campfire. This person's body is very normal. But only the head part seems to be covered with an earthen pot for pickling pickled Chinese cabbage. You gradually saw the true face of that guy that is a humanoid creature with an extremely recognizable jar head on this continent. We call these peculiar humanoid creatures the Vetch tribe. Their movements are unpredictable, and the vast majority are friendly in nature. They enjoy doing business with adventurers and can often be seen at their strongholds. It smelled the scent of your money and came to this place. It turns out that the first NPC has arrived at the campsite. Rodrian pinned the wooden bow behind him and temporarily let go of his guard. On the game forum, it was mentioned that although the functions of NPCs are similar, each player is in a different area and encounters a different image of NPCs. So he didn't react earlier and thought there was some humanoid monster hovering near his camp. In Old Things, players need to meet certain conditions before NPCs can move into the camp. The most basic requirement for all NPCs to stay is to have an empty living space with a light source and a bed in the camp, and their tent just meets this requirement. I just don't know why. A few days ago, there were no NPCs checking into my camp, and I didn't expect to check in at this time. But he quickly realized. The conditions for this businessman to stay should not only include a living space, but also the need to carry something of more than a certain value on their own. I just scraped a large wave of items from the ruins, so this guy came smelling it. Get close to the merchant for a conversation. Oh, Wei En and the handsome adventurer master, I have been waiting for you here for a long time. You can call me Merchant Wayne. The tiled can is like a British gentleman, with a light right foot and a palm flipping around a wreath in the air, placing it on the abdomen, and bowing to oneself in a comical and respectful manner. Do you want to make money? I have just received a batch of essential adventure supplies here, which I guarantee will make your adventure journey smoother, and you only need to pay a little sore to own them. Merchant Wayne made a muffled sound through the clay jar, and due to his fast pace, his tone sounded very eerie. I use the reputation of the Weiqi tribe as a guarantee to find a book garden at www.zhaosuiyuan.com. My products are absolutely of good quality and affordable, and both the elderly and the children are honest. I hope to stay here for a long time in the future and taste the beauty of money with you. As Wayne spoke, he rubbed his smooth and shiny tiled head over and extended an arm, gesturing to shake hands with Rodrian. It's strange to be polite. Rodrian shook hands with the respectful and eccentric businessman named Wayne with a complex expression, expressing agreement. He certainly wouldn't refuse NPCs who can sell things to move into his own territory, let alone being polite. Merchant Wayne has successfully checked in soon. After businessman Wayne moved in, two options also emerged. They are, for sale, and, store, respectively. He chose the store. I have bought a lot of good goods today, please take a look. Wayne opened the wooden box carried by the donkey, and the storefront panel was also displayed in front of him. On the storefront panel, there was a countdown to the midnight purchase time. Obviously, Wayne's store refreshes once a day. There are indeed many adventure supplies inside, such as torches and some basic food, as well as building materials. Of course, there are also some very expensive and rare items. Old-style kerosene lamp. 1,000 sols, a portable kerosene lamp that provides a stable and long-lasting ordinary light source. With it, some light-sensitive creatures will not be able to get close to you. Chopper. 3,000 swords, a magical machete that can dismember low-level creatures in captivity and convert them into useful materials. Old cowhide backpack. 3,500 swords, with 20 spaces, it is the king of value for money that every adventurer deserves. Chapter 6. The Evil Capitalism. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. An old cowhide backpack with 20 compartments. Rodrian's gaze fell on the old cowhide backpack, and his mind became lively. It looked quite good and cheap. It has to be said that as a garbage guy who enjoys scraping the land in various games, he is indeed tempted. The simple shoulder bag made by oneself on a handmade workbench only has 6 compartments of space. Just now, in the ruins of the kingdom of Dorian, he abandoned some items and brought out most of the valuable ones. As a pure trash, every loss of money makes him feel very distressed, and he thinks he is a very thrifty person. Therefore, having a large capacity backpack is very important for exploring relics for oneself. After all, places like ruins that are prone to producing high-value items cannot be repeatedly accessed, especially if items are lost on the ground and will be refreshed after a certain period of time. He must take all items out at once. He pondered for a while, examined the valuable items in his hand, and clicked on the sell option. As long as it is placed in the transaction column, Merchant Wayne will give these items a valuation. Oh, please wait a moment, let me smell the smell of money in these items. They will definitely sell for a good price with me. Wayne took out a magnifying glass and looked at each item. Blooded treasure map. 12,000 souls, armor fragments. 800 souls, cowhide vest. 2,000 souls, fungal spores. 800 souls, colorless crystal. 500 souls, it is impossible to sell the colorless crystal and the bloodstained treasure map to Wayne. The former is an important material for synthesizing the vast majority of items, while the latter is a key item for his exploration. If he wants to explore more relics, he still has to rely on this bloodstained treasure map. Roduan sold all the cowhide vests and fungal spores he had on hand to Wayne. Successfully sold. Obtained. 8,400 souls, purchase successful, obtained. Old cowhide backpack *1, obtained. Old style kerosene lamp *1, after purchasing kerosene lamps, old pocket backpacks, and some stones for building houses with 8,400 souls, Rodrian unexpectedly became poor again. Merchant Wayne has a lot of things he wants to buy in his store. For example, the Star Crystal Tower is a necessity. With it, Roduan can choose to open a second camp in a resource-rich area and carry out large-scale construction. But having no money is a problem. In reality, we need to make money, but in games, we still need to make money. The whole world is a huge game of making money. Although Luo Duan has a heart that wants to make money, he is impatient and cannot eat hot tofu. It is almost 4 a.m. now. If he builds his own home again, he will go to bed. One aspect of old things is well designed. Even if one goes offline, the creatures in their camp will still work hard. Now that his hands are empty, he naturally wants his containment to quickly create surplus value. What a wicked capitalism, just bear this bloody crime alone in the game. Rodrian silently repented for his sins in his heart, and then summoned the black goat cubs to chop down trees. At the same time, he once again captured a sleeping one-eyed sheep cub on the nearby grassland as his employee, helping to build his home while sleeping. Although it may be unethical to always catch a sheep to collect wool, as the best and most practical creature to capture at present, the one-eyed sheep is the only one. You once again turned your gaze to the dull lamb. It was sleeping and almost sent to hell with an arrow you shot through a low-level containment ball, successfully sheltered. You have once again housed the one-eyed sheep cubs, the upright two-legged sheep, with a strange pupil shining foolishly on its furry head. Although it has the shortcomings of ignorance, dullness, softness, and timidity, it is definitely the best expert in building your home. Name: One-eyed sheep cub, HP 60, attack power 2 defense 10, stage 1/2, race. Elf clan, entry. Diligent person, partner skill. Full concentration skill effect. Using this skill can put the one-eyed sheep cubs into a focus state, increase their work speed and dodge rate by 10%, and last for 1 hour. After 1 hour, the one-eyed sheep cubs will enter a tired state. Luoduan clicked on the entry guide and checked it. The entry for this one-eyed lamb cub seems to be better than what he had previously housed. Diligent servant. Endurance value 5%, work speed 5%, hunger growth rate 3%, although it is a white entry, it appears to be an entry for the Holy Communion of born workers. In fact, he doesn't really care about these job entry terms. As long as he doesn't come up with college student entries like laziness or big stomach king, he can accept everything else. One-eyed lamb cub, it's up to you to unleash the focus skill. With a big wave of his hand, he arranged for the one-eyed sheep cubs to be placed on a handmade workbench to make wooden storage boxes, while allowing them to unleash the skills exclusive to workers. After all, death will drop all items except shelter, and the materials collected and the coins earned from one's adventure must be stored in a storage box for greater safety. You have arranged for the one-eyed lamb cub to be placed on the handmade workbench. The one-eyed sheep cub received the command and entered a state of complete concentration, searching for the Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Its work speed increased by 15%. It extended its arms from its furry body and began carefully assembling the wooden storage box. Construction completed, obtained. Wooden storage box *1. After putting the materials and coins into the storage box, Rajuan continued to fuel the fire, planned the location of the wooden house, and once again assigned this task to the one-eyed lamb cub. There will definitely be other NPCs to move in the future, and he also needs to vacate the house in advance. You have assigned the one-eyed sheep cub to the construction work. It held a wooden hammer in its arm, tirelessly pounding the nails and starting to assemble the wooden house. He rubbed his chin and watched as the two creatures on the campsite were working fiercely. One chopping a tree, the other using only the materials used to make props, really complement each other. It has to be said that the feeling of supervising one's own employees to create wealth is really quite good. In his spare time, he also took out the treasure map stained with blood and began planning his adventure route for tomorrow. You took out the treasure map stained with blood and slowly laid it on the ground. After biting through your finger, you dropped blood onto the yellow treasure map. The treasure map has absorbed your blood and gradually revived, but it takes some time. Watching blood spread at an extremely slow speed on the map, Rodrian understood that his game progress could only be pushed to this point today. Although I understand the principle that one can enjoy playing games for a while and keep playing games for a long time, my own kidneys can't bear it anymore. Finally, taking a glance at the two outstanding employees on the campsite, he clicked on the logout interface. The darkness gradually spread, and the world returned to tranquility. Chapter 7. Big Cousin has great wisdom. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next day, at December 30th, noon. Raduan was awakened by the ringing of his phone. There's something inside you. It's hard to. They're talking about you, boy, but you're still the same. He didn't touch his phone until the bell rang for almost half a minute. After a vague glance at the time and then at the contact person, he reluctantly answered the phone. Why are you calling so early, kid? Don't you know my schedule? The person on the other end of the phone was not dampened by Rodrian's restless voice, but shouted loudly. Cousin, that's why I called you. You go to the game forum and there's a player whose talent is armed. I heard he's very talented and was directly hired by the Byzantine Guild in advance. I heard he can still get paid. Cousin, do you think we should join the guild when we reach level 20 or above? Luoduan, lying in bed, was a bit confused by his cousin's words. After thinking for a long time, he replied. Guild. Isn't this game a single-player game? Just need to save data online. Each player's map is unique, and civilization and terrain are randomly generated. Players explore their own unknown civilization in solitude, experiencing thrilling and magnificent adventures alone, which is also what attracts them to this game. He doesn't like socializing at all, and single-player games are quite to his taste. What guild did you suddenly say now? Damn it. Cousin, your message is a bit closed. Now that level 20 has opened up the big world, players can explore in their own solo world while also teleporting to the big world through the inn, where they can trade items and compete with other players in the big world. I heard that there will be large dungeons in the future. After listening silently for a while, Luo Duan said. So did you buy a game? I bought it, brother, but I didn't have time to play. That's why I gave you the intelligence. When I reached level 20, you'll be leading me in the big world, won't you? Zhou Qi over the phone is crying uncontrollably. Buying a game but not having time to play is like putting a good book on a bookshelf but not being able to read it. This feeling is too tormenting. Alright, you work in the government and are very busy with work. If you have time to call me, why don't you touch the fish more? Don't think so much for now. You're very tired. I called until after 4 o'clock last night and went to bed first. Upon hearing his cousin yawn due to lack of interest, Zhou Qi hung up the phone and was taken aback. But he soon showed a look of envy. Alas, my cousin is living a life of envy towards others. When do you want to sleep, when do you want to sleep, and play games when you wake up? Is there a happier life than this? From childhood to adulthood, he grew up under the advice of his elders, such as, don't learn from your cousin. But now I realize that they really have great wisdom. Cousin Rodoan has been involved in various part-time jobs since he started college, and has done all kinds of work. This cousin has seen the delivery guy in the early morning, was also a comrade in arms of a programmer who died suddenly in front of a computer, and even worked as a tutor for his own classmates. After experiencing such a decade-long part-time struggle, at the age of 28, Rodoan officially announced his honorable retirement. This statement immediately caused a stir in the WeChat family circle of friends. But he disregarded the rumors and gossip of his relatives, and with a small savings of $1 million, he resolutely began to live a peaceful life from this year, enjoying life every day in addition to necessary food and drink. Faced with this resolute and independent cousin, Zhou Qi only had 2 words. Nyobi. Although he also longed for a life like his cousin, he unfortunately did not have the courage of others. It was not easy to have a job within the system, and his family would not allow him to live such a life. Ah, my game. Zhou Qi looked at the Excel spreadsheets waiting for him to process on the screen and sighed deeply. Old Things has been on the server for a week now, and he just logged into the game, checked his talents, and then quickly logged out. Now his daily hope is to take advantage of his work and go to forums to explore the wonders of civilization sites shared by everyone, as well as various game news and live broadcasts to satisfy his craving. Speaking of which guy on the forum is, what kind of dog luck has the talent of armed? It is said that he can wear special weapons and accessories for the shelter. It's ridiculous to think about it. A Tyrannosaurus Rex wearing armor. Pikachu holding a bow and crossbow. Zhou Qi thought this way and sighed again. His talent is healing. He can heal his containment during battles and learn various medical skills with ease. It sounds good, but when compared to others, it is simply unbeatable. Besides, this is not what he wants. What about the agreed-upon soul-based thriller to survival game? What kind of ghost is being a wet nurse? But then again, what kind of talent is my cousin? If my cousin's talent is similar to mine, perhaps he can still achieve some psychological balance. But if he knew about Rodrian's talent, he would probably be shocked to the point where his chin would drop. However, Luo Duan, who was far away from the rented house, was clearly unaware of Xia Zichuqi's rich psychological activities in his sleep. In order to fully ensure the quality of sleep, he slept until 6 p.m. The sky outside the window was faintly dark, and he got up from bed and cooked himself a bowl of instant noodles. Eating only 1 meal a day can save you just 1 meal. No night can make me sleep, no dawn can wake me up. Luoduan added Lao Ganma chili sauce to the instant noodles while muttering to himself. Looking at the third-generation virtual reality helmet still charging on the bed, he decided to take a look at the forum first, wake up, and also learn the beginner's tutorial. He began searching for teaching stickers for NPC occupancy conditions. The terrain, ruins, and even creatures in this game are randomly generated, so compared to the strategy of ruins, the universal NPC occupancy teaching is what he needs. He quickly saw the latest teaching post titled, Dr. Sister Sai Gao, Teach You How to Cheat Doctors Home Without Spending Money. This heartfelt post teaches beginners how to quickly get the most important doctor NPC to move into the campsite. Landlord, I definitely believe you. It's hard to believe your name or not. Luoduan glanced at the name of the owner and felt a bit amused. The owner's ID was indeed very suitable, so he asked Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com to call me a doctor's dog. As an NPC in the early stage, the doctor has the ability to quickly treat people and pets, as well as sell medical supplies, but this is not important. What's important is that she is currently the only female NPC in the early stage. In addition to the necessary conditions for check.in, the landlord has summarized the doctor's needs for check.in. She needs to have medical-related items in her home's storage box or backpack before moving in. I know that the vast majority of newcomers will purchase expensive drugs when merchants come up with new ones to accommodate doctors, but we don't have to spend money, and there is also a way to collect food from containers with manual operations. Because some herbs in the wild grass can also be classified as food, just grab a few handmade containers and slowly scrape the ground. Of course, if you find this method slow, you can go ahead and scrape it yourself. Landlord, add a V. First, let me see how your doctor looks. Why does my doctor look like a little girl? I'm not hawking. Hey. I'll give it a try. If it doesn't work, the old guy will give me a hard time blasting gold coins. The rumor is true, but it was identified as false. There's no need to try the one upstairs. I just followed the landlord's method and had the shelter scrape the ground for 2.5 years. I haven't found any traces of any herbs. Seeing the discussion post gradually deteriorating from discussing game content, Rodrian still chose to close the forum. Now the forum has been contaminated with the bad atmosphere of Chiba, and everywhere is playing with bad memes. Occasionally, it's okay to take a look, but watching too much is really boring. After putting on the virtual reality helmet, he chose to shout out the slogan that is still standing on the internet. Genshin Impact, start. Chapter 8. The Crying of Maple Trees. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Accompanied by a flash of white light, the world fell silent again, and darkness slowly struck. The night breeze gradually brushed over his face. The familiar crackling sound of the campfire rang again, and a wild grass smell permeated the surroundings. Welcome back to the Dark Star Hill. The eternal starlight will continue to guide your path forward. Adventurer Luoduan turned his head and saw a brand new wooden house built by the campfire. The one-eyed sheep cub fell asleep on the nearby grass, and the surrounding ancient trees seemed to have been cut down by the black goat cub. The already empty field became even more desolate. On the vast grassland, only a few bonfires on the campsite complement the stars. Merchant Wayne, on the other hand, seemed to have been sitting by the campfire to keep warm. When he saw him coming, he slightly extended his head from the earthen jar and sat there, bowing to him. Obtained. Wood *150, the wooden house has been built. Your black goat cubs and one-eyed sheep cubs have both completed their work excellently. Black goat cub level of one-eyed sheep cubs. He put the wood that had been cut down by the black goat cubs into the wooden storage box of the wooden house and checked the level of the black goat cubs. Name. Black goat cubs, level 5, HP. 450, attack power. 25 defense. 65, stage. 1/2, race. Shunnier tribe, entry. Thick barriers, swollen body, partner skill. Evil colony, skill effect. Black goat cubs undergo fission and split into several individuals. This skill will consume experience points, and the number of fissions is related to the level. The minimum requirement for using this skill is to hold LV5. The level of the black goat cub has reached LV5, and it can now use the skill of evil reproduction. This skill will consume the pet's experience points, which means it will lower the pet's level. So unless absolutely necessary, he won't command the black goat cubs to use this skill. After collecting and recycling the contents, Luo Duan used the remaining colorless crystals on his hand to make a few low-level containment balls on a handmade table. After thinking about teaching in Chiba, he decided to try that method. You have assigned the one-eyed lamb cub to the task of picking food. It left the warm grass and began to search for food in the wilderness anyway. Trying it yourself won't hurt either. There is currently no other work on hand for the one-eyed sheep cub to do. When they leave, it is still good to have them collect food, even if they only get the ingredients. Quickly, after completing the daily maintenance work of his home, he spread out the blood-stained treasure map once again. Blood stains continue to condense and form on parchment, and you soon see the blood-colored skull emblem, like the red wax of an envelope, printed in a corner of the map. Regardless of whether there are magnificent treasures or unknown dangers hidden there, you know you must go because the adventurous nature beckons you. Good luck, adventurer. The second archaeological site appears to be in a relatively distant location. He studied the locations shown on the treasure map stained with blood. From the map, it appears to be in the eastern direction of the Forest Kingdom ruins that he had previously explored. If the contour lines and values are not marked incorrectly, this place should be a basin terrain, and it is quite far from one's camp. But I own the painful night, and as long as the terrain is not too remote, it shouldn't take too long to reach this destination. Luoduan carried a large capacity old cowhide backpack and wooden bow, flipped over and mounted his horse. The painful night's speed was fast, with black flames underfoot, galloping on the scorched road like a burning flag. Due to the lack of endurance bars, he can keep the painful night in a galloping state for a long time. HP.1 The health of the painful knight will decrease according to speed while riding. Now he doesn't have any means to quickly restore the HP of the containment, and if the HP drops to a certain extent, he only takes the pain knight back to the containment ball for natural recovery. Following the river, the painful knight arrived at a relatively wide and flat plain. The grass on the plain looks more dense, swaying slightly in the night breeze. He watched on the pitch-black plain, and there were more and more wandering shadows nearby. The biota here has become somewhat different. Although most organisms are still one-eyed sheep, their morphology has undergone significant changes. Simply put, they are adult bodies. This group of one-eyed sheep stands upright on the grassland, with two bamboo-like legs protruding from the fur, and two black horns on their bare foreheads developing rough and hard. As adults, the one-eyed sheep became slightly smarter and began to live in groups. Reporting to the group for warmth helped them secure a place on the grassland. The adult body of the one-eyed sheep should have evolved to the second stage. I don't know what the black goat cubs will look like when they enter the second stage. He pondered silently. My own black goat cub is only in the first stage now, and there is still room for growth. I don't know what the second stage will look like. Raduan also observed that in the center of these adult one-eyed sheep, there was a one-eyed sheep that was 2 to 3 times larger than its other adult counterparts, with black and white fur all over its body, and thick horns that curled up on its forehead. It is like a bear, slowly patrolling its territory in the darkness. Zhaozhuyuan.com The King of One-Eyed Sheep, Level 15, HP 1550 The leader of the Cyclops, its power is much stronger than other Cyclops, the king of workers. He observed for a while and commented like this. Since it is the king of the one-eyed sheep, it must have all the attributes of the one-eyed sheep, and it should be much stronger. But now he doesn't have the ability to accommodate this guy. Let's not say if we can beat this level 15 guy for now. Creatures above level 10 require intermediate containment balls in order to have a higher probability of containment. So he can only temporarily give up on it and hastily remember the coordinates of this place on the map, waiting for the next day to catch it. You ride the painful night and gallop away again on the vast grassland. The one-eyed sheep looked at the charred grass with a hint of doubt in their eyes. They lifted their heads and watched as the culprit, you, gradually disappeared into the dark sky. Raduan held the map and repeatedly compared the routes before finally arriving at his destination. However, at this moment, a puzzled look appeared on his face. In front of him, there is no basin. A deep maple forest blocked his way. In the night breeze, there was a rustling sound in the forest, and the dim starlight seemed unable to penetrate these dense leaves, making the entire forest very gloomy and quiet. Shouldn't this be a basin terrain? He repeatedly compared the map and confirmed that it did indicate that this place was a basin. But I came to a maple forest. Just as he was pondering, a strange cry kept coming from the woods. Chapter 9. Leading to the Dungeon. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The faint cry stopped Rodrian from pondering. Listen to the sound, it comes from the dark maple forest ahead. You heard a burst of crying, listening to the sound, it's like a little girl sobbing. You gradually approached the dark forest, trying to find the source of that sound. Rodrian looked at the blood-red text constantly appearing on the screen, his face becoming somewhat strange. Something's wrong. Based on past cautious horror game experience, a girl crying in the dark appears inexplicably in such a place, and it doesn't look right no matter what. Cautiously, he did not choose to dismount, but instead sat on the painful night and carried a kerosene lamp into the maple forest. The light of the kerosene lamp illuminates the road ahead for you, and the swaying tree shadows are also stretched long by the light, like thin and dry arms stretching out into the sky. The crying gradually became clear with the dim light of the kerosene lamp. You can see a girl's head peeking out from the grass ahead. She is sitting helplessly in the grass with her back to you, crying. Are you hesitating? Should you step forward and ask her what happened? Rodrian watched as the blood-red text fell, but he didn't get closer again. The method of testing whether this girl is a human or a monster is actually very simple. He silently raised his bow and arrow, aiming at the girl sitting cross-legged in the grass, crying silently. After considering for a while, he still chose to adjust the direction of his bow and arrow, aiming down at the grass where the girl was sitting. Whoosh! Your arrow accurately hit the girl's ankle, causing her to cry in panic as she dragged her legs towards the darkness ahead, fleeing in embarrassment. Watching the little girl in the strange linen clothes in the darkness really reveal her whole body, she stumbled and ran towards the forest with bloodstains all over her body. Now it was Rodrian's turn to feel a bit confused. Is it really human? According to the logic of his horror game experience, a strange little girl appeared in the maple forest in the middle of the night. No matter what, it should be a monster disguised as her. But from the current performance, this guy is a genuine human. Could it be the NPC that triggered the plot that caused him to encounter it? If I shot her an arrow myself, it wouldn't have ruined my favorability. Thinking of this, he hesitated for a moment before slowly following the bloodstains on the ground. The light of the kerosene lamp flickered, casting his shadow gradually into the uneven and slender shadows in the forest. You held a kerosene lamp and chased along the mottled bloodstains, during which you never saw the trace of that little girl again. Soon, you arrived at the center of the gloomy maple forest. The blood stains disappear here. He stopped holding the kerosene lamp and observed carefully on the ground. He quickly noticed a hint, blood stains lingering on the edge of a towering tree. This is an ancient tree that is surrounded by nearly 3 people, and its bark shows the wrinkles of vicissitudes. He attempted to approach the tree, but unexpectedly discovered a faint crack on the bark. You knocked on the tree with your hand and unexpectedly found a crisp sound coming from it. The tree is actually hollow. The tree door was slowly opened by you, and the thick dust made you choke as if responding to the blood-red text. The characters also heard a cough. After the smoke and dust dissipated, he also noticed that the ancient wood in front of him had exposed a dark tree hole. Hidden in the tree hole was an extremely deep and dark stone staircase. The tree hole in front of you reveals a mysterious spiral stone step. You are curious, where exactly does this stone step lead to? Is this the entrance to the ruins? Rodrian poked the kerosene lamp into the tree hole. The narrow stone steps are spiral and it's impossible to see what's underneath. The girl's bloodstains spread downwards, clearly running inside. Holding the kerosene lamp, he began to walk continuously down the spiral stone staircase. The light of the kerosene lamp was only enough to illuminate a few meters ahead of him. On the empty staircase, his footsteps came, along with some extremely delicate and eerie sounds, which made him alert. After walking for a distance, you suddenly noticed a rusty iron railing door at the corner. You gently pushed it away. The dark and spacious corridor unfolds before your eyes. One entered the door holding a kerosene lamp, only to find a fine sound coming from under his feet. Several black shadows darted past his feet, startling him. Squeak, squeak. That were a few plump gray mice, darting back and forth in the dusty crack of the door, as if familiar with the environment here. One of the slow moving mice actually held a small piece of bone in its paw. Skeleton mice, a common creature found underground, are very sensitive to the smell of death and feed on the bones of living organisms. They prefer bones over cheese, and individual animals are very timid. However, if there are enough of them, they will also flock to attack living organisms. He slowly breathed a sigh of relief when he saw the blood-red text fall. It doesn't seem like a highly threatening organism. With a mentality of scraping the land, he naturally cannot let go of this passing creature and must keep it in his pocket. You shot an arrow. A fat skeletal mouse that was running slowly was nailed to the ground by arrows. It struggled in terror, but still couldn't escape from your palm, successfully sheltered. Name: Skeletal Rat, Level 1, HP 20, Attack Power 1, Defense 5, Stage 1-1, Race Dwarf Tribe, Entry Flexibility, Partner Skill Sharp Sense of Smell, Skill Effect. Skeleton mice increase their vigilance and search for dangers in ruins. When you approach extreme risks, they will issue a warning to you. Roduan monitored the attributes of this skeletal rat, and it seems that its skills are quite good. It happens to have room to play here, so there is no need to consume true blood to pollute this creature. You summoned the skeletal rat and made it use its keen sense of smell. Skeleton mice are vigilant and alert around, searching for the book garden. www.zhaozuiyuan.com to help you find the greatest danger. Following the skeletal rat exploring ahead into the entrance, he found that the space inside was a very narrow corridor. On both sides of the dark corridor, symmetrical arched caves were dug out, and rusty iron pillars formed a fence door horizontally and vertically at the entrance. It looks like the protective door of a prison. He took a photo in the doorway next to his left hand using a kerosene lamp, and when he saw a corpse with wooden shackles inside, he roughly understood what exactly this place was. Is this actually a dungeon? He looked around at the environment and felt a bit surprised. He didn't expect to explore into a dungeon. Dungeon, an underground castle that holds prisoners and slaves. The deep and dark cage is isolated from the outside world, and in this dark world, the imprisoned creatures will forever lose their freedom. You saw several eerie corpses of various shapes in the cell, which looked pitiful and lifeless. Perhaps the rare treasure of civilization is not hidden here, but this cage must be the hiding place of civilization. You are currently located on the first floor of this dark bunker. Roduan once again carried the kerosene lamp and carefully searched the cells on both sides, but did not find any trace of the little girl or any strange creatures. The layout of these dusty and dark cells is very simple, basically similar. Except for a few extremely bizarre corpses and a few strange instruments scattered on the ground, there is nothing else. You noticed the strange sharp tool on the ground stained with blood, and you were curious, what exactly was that? Chapter 10. Choice of Two Roads. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The light of the kerosene lamp illuminates the darkness for you. After being convinced that there is no danger in this lair, you push open the rusty iron door and start searching. You picked up that strange tool in the first cell. Rodrian picked up a strange iron utensil. Its bottom is like a bracket used by dentists to fix the skull and mandible. Discovery. Cranial Crusher *1, the skull breaker, which looks like an ancient torture tool, is not a cork used to open wine, but your pitiful skull. This thing will make you feel a headache, but you don't need to worry for too long. After a brief period of severe pain, your brain and other things will rush out of the flattened eye sockets and nasal cavity, and you will no longer be able to feel the pain. Just looking at this introduction, he felt a bit of a headache in his head. However, upon inspection, he discovered that this was a purple valuable item that only occupied 2 spaces, so he immediately put it into his backpack. You continue to search in the second cell. You have found a strange tool again, discovery. Heretic pointed fork, the execution tool for heretics, with the appearance of an ordinary collar but with a cleverly designed sharp double-headed iron fork tied to the collar. It became a tool of terror for pagans. The iron fork will be embedded in your chin and collarbone, preventing the victim from bowing their head or falling asleep. They can only slowly enjoy the pain without sleep until death. After inspecting for a while, he found that it was also a purple object, and he also stored it in an old cowhide backpack. After patrolling the cell, Rodrian knew why there were so many strange dead bodies in the cell. The coarse linen clothes worn by these corpses were prison uniforms, and they were all tortured to death by corresponding torture equipment. In the first cell, the skull of the skeleton was shattered. In the second cell, the skull leaning against the wall also maintained a high-headed posture, apparently tortured to death by sharp iron forks. But the third cell was a bit strange. There are no special tools of torture in the cell, only a headless corpse. You notice that strange eggshells are scattered near this headless corpse. On the ground, there is also a pool of black blood that has already solidified, as well as eerie green blood that doesn't seem to be human. Raduan did not search for anything in this eerie cell. He had to continue to inspect the fourth cell, but there were also no corpses in this cell. Not even any torture equipment. What made him a little concerned was that the bed in this cell was 1 size smaller. It seems to be a prison for children. This couldn't help but remind him of the girl in linen clothes in the maple forest above, perhaps the owner of this cell. You quickly arrived at the end of the corridor, where 2 dilapidated fence doors appeared in front of you. The light of the kerosene lamp still couldn't fully illuminate the darkness behind the door. These 2 iron gates look very similar. Rodrian shone a kerosene lamp inside, looking like they were all leading to a lower-level dungeon, so he casually chose a mossy iron door. Squeak, squeak. Just as he was approaching the pitch-black doorway with his front foot, the skeletal rat, which had been keeping a vigilant state all around, suddenly stopped in front of him. It waved its sharp claws and began to bark. Seems like a forbidden passage. Is this warning me? He quickly withdrew his feet, frowning slightly. Although he didn't see anything in the pitch-black doorway, he still took a few steps back. He temporarily put away the kerosene lamp and held a wooden bough to observe for a while. Nothing appeared in the darkness, indicating that there should still be a certain distance from the source of danger. Is the hazard located where the fence door on the left leads to? Raduan, with a trial attitude, quickly chose the road on the right. You struggled to open the iron fence door on the right, and the spiral stone steps reappeared in front of you. Sure enough, this time the skeletal rat quieted down, not making a sharp sound like before, but trembling slightly. He looked at the trembling skeletal rat beside him and sighed that he had caught another good tool, the rat. It has to be said that this guy's abilities are quite useful. The rat team made great achievements. The companion skills of the skeletal rat can help him predict risks, and they are indeed of great use in such complex ruins on roads. Walking on the dark spiral staircase, you quickly reach the end of the road. You have arrived at the storage room on the second floor of the dungeon. Pushing open the heavy iron door, what appeared before your eyes this time was an extremely spacious room. The layout in the room is very messy, and the items placed are also very complicated. The collapsed tall bookshelf was covered in spider webs, strange parchment was scattered all over the ground, and a scroll lay flat on the spacious desk, painted with blood, as if a strange ceremony was being held. In the blood-stained cabinet on the side, there are several items similar to the torture tools I saw on the first floor. Just as he was carrying a kerosene lamp and struggling to enter the pile of miscellaneous items in the book garden www.zhaozhuiyuan.com, preparing to continue searching, he suddenly saw a strange figure standing in the center of the room. That is a skeleton wearing a tattered black robe, deep in its eye sockets, with a deep flame burning, staring at you like a gaze. It is dragging a hammer in its hand and walking towards you step by step. Your arrival woke it up. Judge of the Gum Church, LV, 16, HP, 1600 Luoduan slowly made a question mark in his heart. He lowered his head with difficulty. The skeletal rat also felt its owner's gaze and suddenly lifted its pointed head, its long beard trembling and staring at him with wise eyes. No, what about the agreed danger prediction? Rodrian looked at the judge who was walking towards him, holding a hammer and dragging his tattered robe. The skeletal rat beside him still stared at the copper bell-like eyes, looking at the approaching judge in front of him, and then looked up at Rodrian, revealing an innocent gaze. He immediately understood everything. Damn it! He cursed softly in his heart, and after ruling out any bugs in the game, he recalled the skill introduction of Skeleton Mouse. The companion skills of skeletal mice predict extreme danger. The current scene proves that it does not seem to warn of ordinary dangers. But this is also a bit outrageous. The monster level in front of me is LV16. My level is LV6. Being 10 levels higher than oneself is actually not considered extremely dangerous. What was there in the left fork that led to the underground back then?